All right, this leveling example is in a little bit different format here. Instead of having the table, we actually have a figure. So we can still see back sites and foresights. They're just drawn in our figure here and our turning points and benchmark a starting elevation. So it's up to us to complete the level nodes. So can certainly just kind of make a table or make a little list here to organize our data. So let's put these in order. We'll have our backsite values. We'll have our height of the instrument values. We'll have our foresight values, and we'll have our elevation values. And we'll start here with our benchmark 1, and that we've given an elevation there of 100 feet. And then we'll move forward to our first location here. And, you don't have to have a name for these locations, kind of shown by like the instrument here, but I like to just give them capital letters here. So I'll call that A, B, and C for those instrument locations. So for A, we can see that that's got a back site of 1.22. And then we can go ahead and figure out what the elevation is going to be there. So if we start at this elevation of 100 feet, we add that 1.22 back site, the height of that instrument at A is going to be 101.22. It's just 100 plus that 1.22. Now let's go forward here. We have a foresight of 6.26, and that's going to help us figure out what the elevation of that turning point 1 is. So that's going to be my next thing to go in my notes, and that foresight of 6.26. What I need to do here is take that 101.22 and now subtract that 6.26 because foresights are going to be subtracted. So 101.22 minus my 6.26 gets me to 94.96 for that elevation of TP1. And maybe we'll put some lines in here to keep our rows separated. All right, and we'll continue moving along our traverse here to our back site. So we're given a back site, and that's going to get us to point B. So we'll list that back site 1.34. Back sites are added on, so we'll add 1.34 to 94.96. And that will get us to 96.30. All right, and then we'll go on and figure out that foresight here, 7.24, and that will get us to our elevation at TP2. So we'll take that 96.30, subtract the 7.24, that gets us to that elevation of 89.06. Continue moving along here. I've got my next back site at 0.42, and that will get me to point C. So we'll add that 0.42 to the 89.06, which is 89.48. And now to get to my last point here, which is actually benchmark 2, I'll look at my foresight, which is the 6.92, and subtract that from the 89.48, which will get me to a total of 82.56. Now I'll do a quick check just to make sure everything is lined up. Of course, always make sure you check your numbers. Like, so backside 1.22, 1.34, 0.42. Let's sum up those backsites. Do a sum, just a quick calculation, addition of the three of those, and that is 2.98 feet. And then check your foresights, 6.26, 7.24, 6.92, and then we'll do a quick summation of those foresights. Just add those up, and that's 20.42. And then to figure out the distance between the starting elevation and the finishing elevation, we can find the difference between the back sights and foresights, that summation of the back sights minus the summation of the foresights. So it's just a 2.98 feet that we're subtracting a 20.42 feet from. So we'll get a negative number here. So that means that our ending elevation should be less than our starting elevation, which is what we got. So that's looking good. So that's a negative 17.44 feet. So we'll subtract that from the 100-foot start elevation. And yep, that gets us to 82.56 feet. So that's a nice way to check our final answer. It's also a way to get to that final elevation if that's all you need without doing all of these intermediary steps as well.